Meghan Markle is a lifelong feminist, which she's demonstrated by marrying a prince and giving up her job.
NBC has announced plans for a spin-off to the hit series Suits. It will focus on Meghan Markle's character's struggle to balance her legal career while also caring for an unemployed immigrant.
They're so racist. They wanted to know how brown the baby's gonna be. I'm like, that's not racist. Because even black people want to know how brown the baby gonna be.
A Christmas photo released by the royal family features a bad Photoshop job where Prince Louis's finger appears to be missing. And this is sweet. Meghan Markle said she has a finger they can use if they need it.
Like, my life was so hard. Everybody's life is hard.
Yeah,
you were the prince of a
That's true.
goddamn country who dressed up as a fucking Nazi, and now you're trying to come back as the Pope? Suck it.
At the end of 2025, Ranker.com published their most disliked celebrities list. And sitting at the top was a woman who 5 years earlier most people couldn't even spell the name of. A side character on a legal drama that cable TV audiences half-watched on Wednesday nights. Someone who, before a certain prince entered the picture, existed entirely outside the cultural conversation.
Now for the tricky part. Place in microwave. What is microwave? I don't think we have any of that.
It's a microwave, silly.
Don't talk to me like that, you bitch! I'm a fucking duchess! Shake that off!
Oh!
And somehow, in the space of a few years, she managed to turn nearly every major comedic voice on the planet against her. That's not an accident. That's a pattern. And what makes this story genuinely worth examining isn't the jokes themselves. It's who was making them. These are not internet comment sections. These are A-list names. People paid millions of dollars to be careful with their words.
Gone on Oprah, I didn't know. I had no idea how racist they were. It's the royal family. You didn't Google these motherfuckers?
People who calculate risk before they open their mouths in public. And every single one of them looked at Harry and Meghan and decided the target was worth it. The question nobody has cleanly answered yet is why. What did they do that was so uniquely infuriating that even the most measured voices in Hollywood stopped holding back?
Harry, whose memoir just broke the Guinness record for fastest-selling nonfiction book of all time, the story of Prince Harold and his frozen yogurt slinger, is so popular, they're now releasing a version for kids. I don't know if you know about this. It's a twist on The Princess and the Pea. It's called The Prince and the Penis, and it's...
We're going to go through every major moment, every roast, every takedown, every comedian who stepped to the microphone and said exactly what millions of people were already thinking. And we're starting with the one that made all the others possible. Chris Rock did something in his Netflix special * selective outrage that no one else had managed to do.
What the f*** is she talking about? She didn't know. The fuck? It's the royal family. They're the original racists.
He didn't just roast Meghan. He dismantled the entire structural foundation of her victim narrative. And he did it in a way that was almost impossible to argue with, because of who he is. The racism accusation had been the untouchable centerpiece of the Sussex story since the Oprah interview. The suggestion that someone in the palace had asked about the skin color of their unborn baby.
That's like marrying into the Budweiser family and going, they drink a lot. This motherfucker's invested in slavery like it was Shark Tank.
And that this constituted racism so severe it justified leaving the institution entirely. That claim had been treated with enormous caution by almost everyone in public life, because challenging it carried obvious risks. Chris Rock challenged it directly. He said that even black families ask how brown a baby is going to be, that it's a completely normal question inside black households across the world. That taking something that ordinary and repackaging it as evidence of institutional racism was not a credible argument. And then he went further. He compared joining the royal family and then acting shocked at its culture to joining the cartel and being surprised when illegal things happen. You knew what this was. Stop pretending you didn't. Here is why that moment changed everything. A black comedian, one of the most respected voices in American comedy, had just said publicly that the racism framing didn't hold up. After that, nobody could accuse the broader public of racism for agreeing with him. He handed the entire conversation a different framework. And every comedian who came after him walked through the door he opened. But the moment that arguably shifted Hollywood's relationship with the Sussex brand happened not in a comedy club or on a streaming special. It happened on one of the biggest live stages in the industry. The Golden Globes. Joe Coy was hosting, and he delivered one sentence that the entire room felt before they even finished laughing. He compared the Sussex story to a show about a rich, dysfunctional family where nothing interesting happens. The crowd response wasn't just laughter, it was recognition. The kind of laugh that comes from hearing something you'd been thinking for a long time said out loud with perfect timing. Awards show hosts are not supposed to do that. They're supposed to smile, land soft jokes, keep everyone in the room comfortable, and make sure nobody leaves angry. Joe Coy walked out there and did the complete opposite. Then he moved to the Netflix deal. Tens of millions of dollars. Paid to 2 people for producing content that almost nobody could describe or remember watching. He said it plainly, and the audience laughed again. Because what else do you do when 2 people are collecting generational wealth while loudly describing themselves as victims of the system? The Golden Globes moment wasn't just a joke, it was a signal. Hollywood had shifted, and the room's laughter confirmed it. Then came the memoir roasts. And this is where multiple comedians independently arrived at the same punchline, from completely different directions. Jimmy Kimmel noted that Harry wrote 600 pages about how painful and difficult his life had been. The life of a man born into one of the wealthiest, most powerful families in human history. 600 pages of suffering from someone who grew up in palaces, who had never experienced financial precarity, who had full-time security and staff from the day he was born. Kimmel let that land, and then moved to the geography joke that nobody had thought to make before. Harry and Meghan said they left the royal family partly because of racism. And the place they chose to escape to was America. Of all the countries on Earth available to them, they landed in America specifically to get away from racism. Kimmel just let the audience connect the dots. Jimmy Carr came at it from a different angle. He noted that Harry had spent 30 years inside an institution that controlled every aspect of his existence. Then he left that institution and immediately entered a different arrangement that controlled every aspect of his existence. Different branding, same structure. The freedom Harry described was theoretical. The reality, as Carr pointed out, was that the only thing that changed was who was holding the schedule. What's remarkable is that neither comedian coordinated. They looked at the same situation and arrived at the same core observation independently. When multiple smart people examining the same subject reach the same conclusion without talking to each other, that conclusion tends to be accurate. And this is where things get genuinely strange. Because while the comedians were doing their work publicly, something else was happening in the background that almost nobody noticed until it was already over. Spitting Image had built an entire body of satirical content around Harry and Meghan. Puppet scenes, the microwave, Meghan snapping at Harry and reminding him she was a duchess while he shrank into the background. Soul food that turned out to be a bag of chips with a flower dropped on top. Content that was sharp, specific, and clearly built on careful observation of their actual public behavior. Then overnight it was gone. Every clip, every episode, every piece of Sussex-related Spitting Image content disappeared from every platform simultaneously. Reports suggest legal pressure was involved. Someone with serious resources and serious intent wanted that material buried. The specific details of what legal mechanism was used remain unconfirmed, but the result was unambiguous. An entire body of satirical work was scrubbed from public view in what appeared to be a coordinated removal. Here's what they apparently didn't account for. The moment word spread that the content had been pulled under apparent legal pressure, the hunt for it intensified. Mirrored uploads spread across platforms faster than any takedown could follow. The attempt to erase it became the story, and the story made more people seek out the content than would have watched it organically. Trying to silence satire about a privacy-obsessed couple who can't stop generating content is almost too perfect an irony to have been scripted. South Park couldn't be silenced the same way. And they knew exactly what they were doing when they built an entire episode around the worldwide privacy tour. The genius of the South Park approach wasn't exaggeration. It was reflection. They took exactly what Harry and Meghan were publicly doing and simply pointed a camera at it, without adding anything fictional. Harry and Meghan traveling the globe, doing magazine covers, filming specials, sitting for interviews, and loudly announcing at every stop that they desperately needed privacy. The episode showed them house hunting for a quiet, peaceful, normal place to live, while a full camera crew filmed every single second of it for content. No exaggeration required. No invented details. Just the actual situation, reflected back cleanly. That's the most devastating form of satire because there's no defense against it. You can't say it's unfair. You can't say it's inaccurate. All you can do is watch. They turned Harry's memoir into a children's book about a privileged man who never stopped complaining. They showed the privacy tour for exactly what it was. And millions of people watched and recognized every single detail immediately because they'd already seen it happen in real life. Then John Oliver weighed in. And this one matters more than all the others combined. Not because of what he said, but because of who was saying it. John Oliver is not someone who punches carelessly. He researches. He measures every word. He has spent years of his career defending people the mainstream media treated unfairly. He is almost certainly the most careful, most deliberate comedian working in the public space today. His default position is empathy for the targeted. He looked at Harry and Meghan and said simply that they cannot change. Not that they won't. Not that they're choosing not to. That they literally do not have the capacity to. That's not a punchline. That's a diagnosis delivered by someone who does not diagnose lightly. When the most measured voice in this entire conversation decides you're a lost cause, that carries a weight that no amount of Netflix content or lifestyle branding can counter. And what makes it more uncomfortable is that he was right about the response. They didn't reflect. They didn't adjust. The jam kept getting packaged. The interviews kept happening. The privacy statements kept being released to cameras. The pattern continued exactly as he said it would. John Oliver didn't predict the future. He just described the present accurately. And sometimes that's the most devastating thing anyone can say. So the question the whole story leaves sitting in the room is the one nobody has a clean answer to. Did they deserve all of this? Or did some people go too far? Because somewhere between the cartel joke and the wax, statue punchline, and the microwave puppet scene, the line between accountability and cruelty gets genuinely difficult to locate. And where you draw that line probably says more about you than it does about them.